heads hit the fan, we're overrun. Sending boys in the trucks with the 50 cals. Tell every swinging neck, bring extra rounds. Hang in now, boys, we're on our way. Don't send them on to heaven before we get a taste. Whoa, cry havoc, let's slip the doors of war. What you gonna do?
And welcome back to another episode of the Double S Podcast. It's me, Gene. We are back here. Hey, folks, before we get going too much further, just so you know, there's a reason we're not responding to your calls or to your messages in the actual time, because this is a recording. Look, we have a 16-hour time differential with the man I have with us today, so we had to find a way to get this in. It's during the holiday season to boot, so super cool that he's with us, but we are recorded tonight. But don't let that stop you from your comments, your questions, from anything like that. Absolutely make sure and leave those here with the video. We want to see them here. I'll make sure our guest sees those later if you're putting something in there, because I will check through it completely. But nevertheless, we are recorded. We are not live tonight here. Hey, by the time you're watching this, we'll have made it through part of the holiday season. We'll still probably be in a little bit of it. Hope you're doing good, right? Stick close to family. Stick close to friends. Do not isolate. That's all I'm going to say. And if you're out there and if you're in a good space, hey, find somebody out there, do a buddy check real quick. Throw a text out, throw a phone call, go grab a beer, grab some coffee, whatever it is. Just call up and say, what's up? All right, do that buddy check there. That's how we affect some real change. Just reminding people how important they are to us out there, reminding them that they're loved and reminding them that they have purpose, they have mission, and we're part of that. All right. Let's pay the bills, then we're just going to get right to it. We're going to bring this man in here to chat with us here. And folks, what's going to be awesome about this, I have purposely done something here. We're going to be learning more about this gentleman together on air here. As you know, I've said this before. I got a lot of degrees. Journalism's not one of them. I am not a journalist, right? I'm a dude back here that is been doing a podcast for about 5.5 years here. So, my methods are a little different than others out there, but trust me when I say you can't wait to meet this dude, man. This is going to be an awesome, awesome time here. All right, so let's go ahead and pay the bills. Every episode of the Double S Podcast brought to you by the Romans Warrior Foundation. Go check them out at romanswarriorfoundation.org. Alternative methods of healing all across the country, from the Global War on Terror's Wall of Remembrance. We can take that special event you have in your town, take it to the next level, bring real healing into that community. The Field Ops Division, which is the one we work with, they're getting using outdoor recreation as a form of restoring mission and purpose and creating bonds. Of course, we have the Label 22 set up there, which is the recording studio production company owned by vets for vets. The Hoosiers with Hearts disaster relief team out of Indiana, got that rolling there. Yes, and then of course the retreat piece. There's big stuff brewing for Romans Warrior Foundation. If you're looking for ways to get involved, that you can help the Romans Warrior Foundation continue that on that mission there, reach out to them. Hit them up, hashtag helping is healing. Hit them up at Romans Warrior Foundation, or go check them out at the website there. Of course, our little nonprofit, the True Patriot Outfitters, kayak fishing, camping trips for our brothers and sisters, the warfighting families, our community heroes, and their families. We get it all involved there. That is our purpose, is to improve general mental health, well-being, and the quality of life. That's what we're aiming for, man. We'll create the bonds, get them hooked on fishing. That's the name of the game there. Of course, Adam Bird and all the great podcasts here on the Heroes Media Group Network. Check out those. Something for everybody, dude, on the Heroes Media Group. There's no question about it. Great podcast all the way across the board. Love these guys out there. Love these other shows that are out there. We've had just an amazing time learning from them, watching them, and being included with them in that group there. And of course, the sister company to Heroes Media Group, which is HMG Beverage. Go get you some Quick Start coffee. Kickstart coffee, not Quick Start. You'll get a Quick Start. There's no doubt about it. Get on that coffee there from those bad boys. All right, that's it. We paid the bills. We're in here. Without further ado, let's go ahead and bring this man in, Mr. Tim Thomas, all the way from Australia. We're bringing him in. What's happening, Brother Tim?
G'day, Gene, and g'day to your audience from down under.
Dude, so we met on Tip of the Spear.
That's right.
Like a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, if that. Something like that. And immediately behind the scenes, started having a blast just in the private chat back there, having a good time. But not for nothing, Tim. What struck me the most about you, man, is we do it differently, but it's the outdoor engagement, it's the health, it's the mindful body and spirit approach you have towards health, and how you've turned that to try to help out your brothers and sisters out there, and pretty much any human being walking on the planet can benefit from this. But that approach of yours, man, is what just absolutely drew me right to it, and I can't wait to get to know more about this, dude. This is going to be exciting.
Yeah, Gene, so there's a big misconception out there that healing takes a long time. And in my experience, and I've been in this space of veteran recovery for over a decade, when you apply the right modalities, people are amazed at just how quickly healing takes place. And that's the good news. The bad news is, and I was in that boat too, when you're hurting, you're fatigued, you're vulnerable, you don't know who to trust, you've been disappointed many times, you can search for years before you find the right healer. And most people give up, and most people blame themselves. And I've had so many veterans say, look, I've tried to get help. The help didn't help. In fact, it made it worse. So I'm never doing that again. And so to them, I say, the good news is once you find the right healer, things happen very much quicker than what everyone sort of has sort of spoken to. And so that's been my journey, healing myself, but also creating programs to help the wider veteran community. And in that very, very therapy resistant space, we were able to craft tools that then were now made available, more readily, because it's one thing to have something that works, but then how do you make it more available, to the masses? So yeah. My lifetime goal was saving 40 veteran lives from suicide, because in Australia, Gene, that's how many we've lost to bombs and bullets in Afghanistan. And I was deployed in Afghanistan 2009 with the Australian Special Forces. That's my background. And then when everyone comes home, no one's talking about, the suicide rate, which is, 10 to 20 times that of the killed in action. And so my lifetime goal, and I didn't care if it took me the rest of my life, was to save 40 veteran lives from suicide. But upon discovering the healing modalities that really worked consistently, we were able to achieve that within 12 months. And so that's wow. Something I can sort of say, well, look, it's actually working. Let's just keep doing the stuff that's working. Let's find ways to make it more readily available. And to me, the best way to reach people is through authentic conversations. Yeah. Because there's so many voices out there, but if you can be really genuine, speak your truth, people that are hurting really pick up on that. And that's actually the first step in healing. Everyone's so ready to pour resources in, like there's millions and billions of dollars of resources poured in. But if someone's feeling alone and isolated and not knowing who to trust, that's largely water off a duck's back. So if you're listening to this and you've gone through some stuff, that stuff is actually your qualification for breaking the isolation of someone else. And to me, there's no more powerful thing on the planet than breaking someone else's isolation. Yeah. That's where it begins, essentially.
In what this brings up here, and I'll backtrack in a second here, but while this is fresh in my head, I want to fire this up. So as you know, if you remember, I'm a civilian. I'm not a United States veteran. And I took it as when I started working in this space here, I took it as very proud of the fact that I'm going to be one of those civilians that, number one, works hard to be a civilian worth fighting for, and number two, to do my part now as a civilian to make sure that we find help and find ways to support those that have secured our freedoms and our futures. we work there, but it's so easy in this, especially, for us here in the States, and for us to get these blinders on, to think that these issues are just this American only kind of issue. But war is war, and service is service, no matter where it's at, right, on the planet. Do you in Australia? So one of the things that our vets here that I hear constantly from this that we see is, it's 8 to 12 weeks to recruit them, right, to get them in and get them going, and then it's like 3 days to get rid of them, right? Here's your cards, here's your phone number, see you later. Now, it is a little more than that, but it's, for some folks it doesn't feel much more than that. It's that post support that seems to continue to be lacking out there. Our social medicine attempt with the VA does not hit where it needs to hit. It's missing. We've poured money at it. It still is missing, and it's not getting the job done, in its entirety. For every great story we hear, there's at least another bad story. And that 50-50 should never be freaking acceptable. You know what I mean? It's like, no, I'm not okay with that. There ought to be about 100, 200 greats and maybe one bad in there that we have to keep working on, type thing. But do you, in Australia, is it a similar situation that you guys deal with out there with that post support?
Okay, it's not just similar. It's, and I will say this, whether you're a veteran or a civilian, isolation and fatigue occurs the same way.
Right.
But veterans tend to take it to a more acute state because they've had to embody a certain nervous system that allowed them to serve their country at a certain level. And somewhere in the mix there, they've equated asking for help as a sign of weakness. Because if you're weak, you'll let the team down, and I'll die before I let the team down. And so there's just an extra level of barriers for veterans to get into that healing space. But conversely, what veterans are really good for is if you're a black belt and sort of effing yourself up, you have to become a black belt healer. And so the lessons learned, like on how to actually break isolation and how actually to get out of fatigue, if you can make it work in the veteran space, if you can crack one hard veteran nut, then it makes it so much easier to crack open and break the isolation of others. So whether you come to your sense of thinking that I'm the only one going through this, because that's what I observe pain does. It doesn't matter if the pain's emotional or physical, civilian or veteran, it'll get to a certain duration or intensity where it transforms and you don't even know it's happened into loneliness, isolation. I'm the only one going through this. I can't talk to anyone about it. And those unspoken words become like rocks around your heart. And you just, like, men want to talk, but they need to hear someone else who's been there saying the words that they can't say. And once that actually happens, I've seen it when I've conducted these workshops. The jaws kind of pop open, okay, when they hear words spoken that they weren't able to say themselves by someone else.
Right.
And they say, and it's interesting that the jaw pops open because the vagus nerve has two attachment joints behind the jaw. And your vagus nerve is the thing that holds all your emotional trauma, right?
Okay.
So their jaws pop open and they say words like, fuck, I thought I was the only one, and that's the beginning, of the healing journey. Now, misunderstanding that has led to all sorts of overspending, overcompensation, and bureaucratic bullshit that has got nothing to do with the person who's in that point of isolation, the person that's in that point of fatigue.
I love it.
And so before you have this big bucket of resources, you have to understand where this person's at. And I kind of think that the way the bureaucracy works is, okay, we've got a big bucket of money, and okay, flowers need water. Here's a bucket of water. Boom, there you go, flower, you're fine. And I can tell myself, on my spreadsheet, the resources have gone from there to, veterans, mental health, wherever. And I can tell myself I've done something, and nothing could be further from the truth. But in the minds of those people that are in that position of allocation, their ignorance is causing a massive separation from the people they actually want to reach.
100%. 100%. And for us here, many times that plays out in the form of money. We got to spend more money on it. That means we're doing something, and unfortunately we saw that play out, and we saw the fact that, over the course of a 3-year time frame, we tripled like the spending at the VA, and the suicide rates continued to rise. It did not solve it, So yeah, it's yeah, I totally am tracking with where that's coming from. It's about what we're doing, not it's the quality over quantity. I think, quite
Well,
frankly, if you got to narrow it down to something.
You have to kind of see that when people are in that state of aloneness and fatigue, they're living on an island very far away, and you can't put all your resources on the mainland and think it's ever going to reach the island, because this is where they live. You need someone who actually can speak their language, travel that distance, and then all of a sudden that island starts merging with the mainland. And sometimes, and this is the power of authentic conversations. Like, I'm a guy with 6 pages of weapons I'm proficient in. Okay. And I did things in Afghanistan with weapon systems that, only a handful of people could have done. The training was good, but what I've discovered and what I've seen time and time again, especially in the veteran healing space, is the most powerful thing on the planet is not a weapon. It's actually a conversation, an authentically spoken conversation from the deepest parts of you to another human being. And then that allows them to just get past all those things that are in the way of them feeling connected. Okay. And the way I this is just the theory that I've had work in real life. The more connected we are, the more energy we have, the more options we have. So if you're feeling disconnected, alone, and fatigued, you've got no energy, no options. But then if we can build that point of connection, social isolation breaking, connecting back into their physical bodies, connecting into nature, all of a sudden that bank of energy is increasing. Instead of having only 2 cents, you got $2,000. And life occurs very differently when you're walking down the street with 2 cents in your pocket when you've got $2,000. And you can make another $2,000 tomorrow,
Right.
Because if I've only got 2 cents, Gene, and this is what happens to a lot of veterans. They become cranky veterans because I've only got 2 cents. They've got to protect what's there. And you better not take it from me because somebody's taken it from me in the past and I don't trust you, and I'm already protected. So no matter how I could have had the absolute best therapist, resources, but when I was feeling, like no one understood, I was feeling completely fatigued. I couldn't take on anything new. I couldn't form any new neural pathways because I was so fatigued that it was all just a big waste of effort and energy.
Wow.
And there's a lot of voices in this space about what helps. And this is where I tend to partner with research foundations that have measurable data on how things are improving. So whenever I ran my programs, I always measured the data on one very critical factor. And this is what set me apart from everyone else. The success of my programs wasn't on what people said, how they were feeling or doing, on the day. It was how long it improved the quality of their sleep. And that was a game changer, because what I noticed was breaking isolation was the start, but you couldn't leave it there. There's a lot of veterans are really good at creating these antisocial social groups. Okay. And I'll say that again. Antisocial social groups, because the power of breaking your isolation is super powerful. But if I can only feel good around a certain group of people for 1 hour a week, for 6 days and 23 hours, I can't be myself, So, and it happens in other places too. People that have, particular diseases, they just get together and, I feel connected and unified because I've got other mammals that are going through the same thing as me, but they're not given anything more to fly, to go into the real world, to be themselves more in other places. So breaking the isolation was the first step, but it can't stay there. Getting them out of fatigue, i.e. improving sleep, that is a critical metric.
I love it.
To have people actually bring themselves into the world.
It's at the heart of, so I'm I enjoy going down rabbit holes and doing research on from my tech days. It was what we called white pages. Literally, it's all it was, just tech data that you read through. Now I've been going through a lot of peer-reviewed medical journals and different things of this nature, and starting to actually learn how to sift through some of that. Of okay, wait a minute, who funded this? Type thing. Now I'm starting to understand why I'm reading what I'm reading. But basically, looking down through this stuff, and one of the things, common denominators that I've been coming across and noticing and seeing is at literally at root cause of almost everything out there is poor sleep habit. It just continues to show up. It's, I mean, from everything, there's actually, they're looking into actually linking this towards Alzheimer's even. Is that it's a continued, heart failure issues, dental issues, blood sugar. If your body can't recharge and get itself back, well, it's like taking your phone out every day and running it at 70% battery and wondering why, it won't ever now after 5, years of doing that, why won't it charge to 100% anymore? It's because you got a problem with your battery now, dog. You've set up these patterns. But apparently, yeah, every so many of these things, I see that, and it's not like bolded and real prominent in the writing. It's hidden in there that possibly could be sleep related. It's
Yeah.
Whoa, wait a minute, I saw that.
And Gene, what you said there was absolutely right. And there's some undeniable facts around the fact that mental health issues are increased 200 to 300% by poor sleep, or the likelihood of mental health problems are increased by 200 to 300%. Right. So they always do research on the data that they can make money from. Oh, okay. If mental health problems are increasing, then we can sell them more drugs to help fix the mental health problem. We can sell them drugs to help them sleep. Okay. And that's a bit of a catch-22. Now, I'm not anti-pill. Sometimes it's the lesser of two evils. But, Gene, you have to understand, when people are searching for solutions after being hurting for so long, they're very vulnerable. So I was one of those people. And when I told a doctor I couldn't sleep, I lost 6 years of my life to pills. Okay. They call them veteran zombies in Australia.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know that simple breath work could bring me the peace I was looking for. Simple breath work could bring the anti-inflammation to my body. And I'm always super cautious when I talk about coming off pills, because there's a right way and a wrong way to do it. But nobody tells you the cost of taking these things. They're very quick to give them to you. No one tells you the cost to your system of taking them, and no one tells you how hard it is to get off these things. Because there's no free lunches. Everything that pill gives you, it will extract from you. When I started coming off these pills after 6 years, oh my gosh, I don't know if I've ever been in so much, not just physical pain, but mental turmoil. Like, I had to remove myself because I really thought if I was going to damage something, it may as well be me. I don't want to be hurting anyone else.
Yeah.
So for me, breath work was able to do a better job at helping me sleep than the pills, and a better job at bringing healing to my body. But you don't hear about this sort of stuff. Why? Because no one's making money from it. Yep. And it wasn't until I was in a vulnerable state, Gene, that I realized we're not currently in an age of information. That's quite a mistake to think. We're in an age of marketing. The first 6 pages of Google are marketers. Okay. And there's a big difference between a marketer and a healer.
Yes, sir.
The marketer knows how to reach and touch you in your heart. Like, that's exactly what I wanted. Oh my gosh, shut up and take my money.
Exactly.
They promise what you want. They promise the power and peace. They give you a small taste, but years go by, and they're taking dollars out of your pocket, time out of your energy, and people end up blaming themselves.
Yeah.
And they're readily available. They're everywhere. And this is where I'm saying the search for a healer takes a lot longer than actually healing. Because when you find the right healer, the healer knows, look, I'm just human. I don't have enough energy for 2, but what I have created mastery with is a connection to something super powerful. And it might have taken me 10 years to have a really powerful connection to that, but I can give it to you in far less time, sometimes a 10-minute conversation. And once you've made that connection, that handshake to that super powerful thing, you've got it for the rest of your life.
Dude.
And there's no resales, and the healer has to be happy to be made redundant. There's not a goddamn marketer out there that would be happy to be made redundant.
Exactly. 100%, dude. And this is why when we talked in the brief little bit, and then the reading that I did with your organization, these were the things that it started to stick with me. Real quick, to stamp this home, we're talking about mental health right here, but this transcends all health issues. So August of last year of 2024, August, September, I went in for a third straight year because my wife demands that I stay in good health. I was going to the doctor once a year and getting my blood work. And for the third straight year, my blood sugar was on the edge of the type 2 game. They said, you're not pre-diabetic yet, but man, you're right on the doorstep of it. And I had gotten to 256 pounds. I'm 6'1". Okay. My body frame is not meant for that kind of weight. I got broad shoulders. And I don't have a small waist, never have. But not 256 pounds. That is just too much. My knees hurt. My back hurt. I couldn't bend at the waist to get up off the couch. I had to kind of roll myself off the ground when I was on the ground. It was pathetic. And I made a choice there when she said, look, if you hit this one more time, 0.1%, and you're going to be, we don't have a choice. We're going to have to get you on some medication. Well, I'll tell you, my hatred and distrust of the pharmaceutical industry is so deep and heavy. I changed my life then. And roughly 12 to 13 months later, I had shed 40 pounds and had done this is embarrassing to admit, but it's the truth, maybe 10 sit-ups in the whole process. How I lost the weight is I changed what I put in my body. I got rid of as many, if not all, of refined foods or processed foods. I got rid of any and all refined sugars. I went to 100% more, as close as I could get to natural, the better. And then I changed how and when I ate. And what it did is it completely, the inflammation started to go away. Like I said, I dropped the weight. My knees didn't hurt. Oh my God, I could see my belt again. My shoes, my shoes are both tied with the bows straight on the front, not on the side because I had to bend to get to my foot, type thing. Just everything. And your point, what you're talking about, the reason why is, like, for instance, you've got people out there that go grab these weight loss things and they start getting this injection because they in their mind have tried everything and they have no other option. When we know for a simple fact they've not tried anything. So you take this drug, you drop weight, but you've not changed the root issue of what's going on. If you've not changed your inbound food that's coming in, if you don't have any type of exercise, you're screwing around, and it's just a matter of time before your body takes it back, Jack. I mean, it's such a dangerous thing to play with. There's a root cause for these things, and you can find them. You absolutely can. Sometimes it's really tricky, but that's where there's guys like you out there to help.
Well, you won't find guys like me, or it's not probably found on the first 6 pages of the Google. Nope. That will deliberately set you up so you don't need to buy anything more, because the more you look at this, and I'm dyslexic, I see things in patterns. There is an economy based on our dysfunctional nervous system, our dysfunctional physical system. And the economy is also based on the ignorance of just how incredible our physical bodies are. So I get a whole lot of joy, Gene, introducing people to the wondrousness of this physical body that's carrying around their eyeballs. And nobody, as you discovered, nobody does this for you. Most people get a shock, and that shock gives them the energy to seek solutions that are underneath their skin. And so you don't normally have conversation with me unless you've gone through this journey of, well, I've done the easy options, which is the most easily available information, but this didn't work. And now I actually need to discover my own power, which isn't as easy as taking a pill, which, like you've done, you made a few changes, but the effort you went to gave you a big return. So the way I get people to look at it is, everyone's got everyone understands the economy of money and investment. You've got say a shares portfolio. You've got shares that give a good return. You've got shares that give a poor return. Okay. Your own energy is like money in the way that how you invest it is how you get it back.
Love it.
And these energetic investments, like it took you energy to cut out the sugar. It took you energy to start being in control of what went in your mouth. But the $10 of energy it cost you, and it did cost you that $10, ideally gave you $1,000 back. And when only you can set up that lens that you look at the world as that energetic exchange. Yes, there's a part of me that wants to smash down all those, biscuits, that the neighbor dropped over. Okay. But there's an energetic exchange. If I go, you know what, I'm going to spend the $10 needed to go, nah. In fact, I often take those things and just put it in the bin, because it's better going from my hand into the bin than from my mouth, through my body,
For real.
And once you start seeing that there's no holding ground here, you're either making choices that may be, cost you $10, but you need to lay hold of two things. One, I'm going to get $100 from this. Okay. Me resisting that's going to give me $100 worth of energy that I can then make better choices with. And then if you ask yourself, what's the predictable future of me not spending that small amount of energy to control what's going in my body? Okay. In your case, it's quite obvious. Type 2 diabetes medication. And once you start on like in Tim's world, once you start depending on things outside of your own body, that weakens your own system. I always encourage people to, nothing wrong with pills, but go to yourself first, find out what you can do for yourself, and then dip into the outside world, because the outside world is economizing your ignorance. And that's why.
That's such a powerful statement, man. Yeah. That is super powerful. Well, let me throw this up here. The name of your organization, brother, is Breathwork in Bed. And there's the website there, folks. It's breathworkinbed.com.au. And this is basically what you started here. Now, you're the founder of this organization, yes? You created this?
Correct. Because I can't do what you do, Gene, or your listeners, but if I can improve the quality of their sleep, then everything improves. And like you said, that's a very unspectacular thing to do. But if you look at the damage that's caused to people through lack of sleep, like in the Special Forces, we used to use sleep as a weapon. We used to deliberately attack the enemy's sleeping patterns, because we knew if we could take it out for 3 nights, it would mess them up better than a bullet.
Wow.
Who could we destroy better than sleep poor people? Who believes dumb stuff easier, sleep poor people or people who are well rested? So that's
powerful.
It's very unspectacular. It's super powerful, but most people only come to these realizations about protecting their sleep once they've experienced the devastating impacts of poor sleep. And unfortunately, our bodies are so physically tough that we can put up with poor sleep, for so long. And it's not until something really bad happens where people go, hey, I want to do something about that. But then, unfortunately, the most easily available solution is pharmaceuticals.
Yep.
Like myself, I lost 6 years of my life. And so I'm here today, Gene, so my wasted 6 years isn't in vain. I want to be able to give people easily available options that are organic to their body. It's natural. It's immediate. Like literally tonight, you could turn your bed into a cloud. So there was a little breathwork technique that I discovered in Afghanistan. I saw the power of it going through my own divorce. And now it's as easy as just clicking a little notification on your phone. And this is, to me, what a master will do. He'll make what's taken them, going through hell and many years to find, very accessible to anyone he, comes in contact with.
And you know what is, And so allow me to gene this up a little bit here. The part that's also automatically got my buy-in from this, knowing your background, knowing where you came from, it is one hell of a cool story to see this. You are a highly trained, highly intelligent human being who now resides here, and you're trying to help, continuing to serve others by help them basically empower themselves. Like you said, if you're a black belt over here doing this, anything you do, you're going to attack it with that. The credibility piece, bro, you've got me. You know, I guarantee you've got my attention now. I can't wait to look at this further and get after. Because as I told you off air, since my divorce, when I went through my divorce of my first marriage in 2013, my sleep habits went to shit. I got to the point where basically I could fall asleep, but I'd be asleep for an hour, hour and a half, and I'm up. And I would get to the point where I was still tired, sure, but for whatever reason, I had to get up and get out of bed. I had to move. And it could be for 15, 20 minutes. And then I could roll back, you know, I could go back and go down for another hour, maybe hour and a half, over and over and over again. And after, 12 years of doing that now, I'll be honest, you know, I would give anything for one solid good night's sleep. I'll get up one time to hit the pisser. That's cool. Right? I'm 53. I got to do that. I'm cool with that. But nothing. I would just really like to attack a day without needing that coffee to really get fired up and rolling. You know, I want to have the coffee. I don't want to have to need it like I do now, you know, to get the engines fired up. So yeah. But again, your background, your story leading up to this is what I absolutely love, man. How long did you serve in it was in the Australian Special, so that was
Special
Army.
Forces, the Commandos. I was in there from 2004 to 2010. The only sort of unique thing about my service was it was the very first in Australia's history of what's called the direct recruiting into Special Forces. So the government knew war was coming. They had a budget, but they didn't have any bums on seats in the Special Forces. So they started a scheme that had been trialed in the US of appropriately screening civilians to then, if they got through basic, if they got through their infantry, if they got through their advanced infantry, they could attempt Special Forces selection. And if they got through that successfully, then they could get into the Special Forces. Up until that point in history, you had to spend 2 years in a regular infantry battalion before you could even apply.
Oh.
So, and we were the very first ones that went through. And you can imagine we weren't received very well.
Right.
We were considered civilian queue jumpers, two of the most fight-worthy words you'd say on base. You're a queue jumper. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until Afghanistan kicked off that people actually saw our value, where we could do everything that everyone else could do, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, we need more of this." Wow. But look, and you know, I'm happy to share my story, but just circling back, I don't want to step over the fact that you haven't been sleeping properly in 12 years, Gene.
Sure.
Okay, and and there's not a system in your body and mind that isn't impacted by that. So let's say we could improve your sleep by 20%. That would probably improve a bunch of other things.
Probably by like 80%.
So what if I told you in less than 5 or 10 minutes of breath work before sleep, you will improve your sleep? I could confidently say, if you did 5 to 10 minutes of specific breath work before going to sleep, it's not hard work, it's just breathing a certain way, guided breath, you would improve your sleep immediately.
I'm in. Yeah, I'm in. I am 100% open-minded to it and ready to go after it. So yeah, that
because the high-tech part of this equation is not, you know, this little breathwork in bed app that I've created. The high-tech portion is your lungs. And I just want to speak for a second why I can confidently say this will give people an immediately and natural and powerful access to their own system.
Yeah.
So think of us as humans evolving. This sentient bolt-on attachment, our ability to speak, is relatively new. So before we were thinking, we were breathing. Before we were speaking, we were breathing. So this is where breath work, that ancient wiring still lives inside of us, Gene. And this is where breath work actually outranks your thinking mind. And so for the first 60 to 90 seconds, you're doing breath work. You're like, oh, nothing's happening, whatever, right? But then there comes this point where the neural pathways are chemically overridden. They actually get in an alkalized state. So and I need to make a point of difference here. Breath work isn't meditation. Meditation is thoughts controlling thoughts. Sometimes when there's a train wreck going on, it's really hard to do that. I've been there.
Yep.
Okay. But breath work, however, like I said, the first 60 to 90 seconds, you're like, this is bullshit. It's not working. But then all of a sudden, someone goes around the side of the house and pulls a fuse box out. Everything goes boom. Okay, it's a chemical override. And that's why I can confidently say when you access this state, and it's a beautiful state to be in, it is peaceful. Your bed feels like a cloud. You feel amazing. Okay. And the amount of pharmaceuticals out there that try and do this for you, we can do this for ourselves. Okay. And this is the best kept secret. So going to sleep in that alkalized state, presence of oxygen, absence of disease. Where there is light, there can't be darkness.
Right.
And if you do wake up, like a lot of people do, having that button to press to guide yourself back to sleep. And even if, say, people don't get to sleep, because sometimes I'm not going back to sleep that easily, between, say, 2 and 4, I'm doing my breath work. That's a whole lot better than laying there with looking at the ceiling, ruminating on crap in my head. Okay. That breath work, in my experience, acts like a patch. So when you do wake up in the morning or you do get out of bed, you're like, oh, wow, I actually feel pretty good. So doing breath work during those very lonely hours at night acts like this wonderful patch, because you're actually bringing healing to your body as you're laying there. I'd rather be laying there putting medicine through my system and making myself a healthier, stronger, happier version than getting stuck in my thoughts and going, what the hell. Yeah. So I just want you to know, when you access this, it's deep ancient wiring that outranks everything in your thinking mind.
I love that. Yeah, man. I am 100% on board with this and looking forward. We are going to, folks, make sure you're sticking with us here. Just want to make sure and throw something up again. Just as a reminder, we are not live. So if you're talking to us or asking questions, please keep doing so. I will check these comments after the show airs, and we'll take a peek at this, and I'll make sure Tim gets a list of these questions and we can respond to these. I
love answering questions, because when someone shares a question, that's often speaking for a group of people, and we can reach down and touch that group of people through that question. So even if it, Gene, I'm enjoying what you're doing here, and I like what you've set up. So even if we do another podcast to answer those questions, so please, if you're listening, stick a question in. We might even do a second one and we speak to that one and really, drill down into specifics, because what we're touching on right now is absolutely huge.
Yeah, 100%, dude. Is if we can get the time out, we'll go live at a different time too. I am completely open to that I could go live at a completely different time, and we'll set up the promos on it so that people know that you and I are going to be, sitting down, and that way, we can involve some audience members to kind of have a chat with and such. So folks, if you're listening to this here, the website is breathworkinbed.com.au. All right, head over there. If you're on Facebook and Instagram, check him out at Breathwork in Bed. From TikTok, he's out there at TikTok as well. Just do a search on that, Breathwork in Bed, and bang, it'll take you right to, and you'll get this all this
the
awesome
easiest
info.
People, for those people who recognize the value in this, because there's some people go, oh, whatever, breathwork, but then there's some people go, actually, there's something here. For those people, I encourage you just to go into your app store and Breathwork in Bed app. It's the same thing. It's got a green sort of background. And that is the genius of that app, is it only asks you 2 questions: when you want to sleep, when you want to wake up, and then you don't have to touch it. So take the time to answer that and choose the track that you want, and you'll be guided to sleep. You'll turn your bed into a cloud with breath. But the morning breath work, that's the game changer, because most people wake up in the morning like, oh my gosh, I've got to get out of bed. But if you can just press that notification and connect to your breath before your feet hit the ground, Oh my gosh, that is the game changer. And I'm a firm believer that if you can win the first 5 minutes of your day, you've won the day.
I love it. Yeah. There again, like we've talked about before. I mean, there's so much from your mental health state, poor decision making. I mean, poor sleep affects everything across the board, from the tiniest of things to the most massive life changing of things. And I'll tell you, I have no problem admitting something. My biggest fear is dementia of some sort as when I get older, not recognizing my family, because to me my family is the core for me. That, next to my faith, my family is my anchor, man. And so if I don't even, I would never want to put them through that, where my children, or eventually, if it ever comes to fruition, grandchildren or my wife were to think that I didn't know who they were. That scares that's of all the things. I don't fear human beings. I don't fear natural disasters. Those things, I refuse to live in fear. So that kind of stuff does not, stop me in my tracks. But this thought does. That thought of, that is a frightful thing to me. So yeah, doing everything I can to avoid that is at the heart of, number one, why I changed up what I eat. I love the Mediterranean level of diet, because I know that does help promote good, solid brain function. So I try to eat, definitely along those lines quite a bit, and just try to take care of myself. But so yeah, this right here, to improve one's sleep, I just went and downloaded the app, folks, and it doesn't get much easier than that. This is a real easy app to take a look at and set up here. And get set up there. So yeah, I'm excited. I can't wait to plug my information
Gene, if
in
I
and
could
get
just
going.
speak to, I can see you're really powerfully motivated around keeping your brain healthy.
Yes, sir.
Because, if you and I hurt our hands, it's just Tim and Gene with hurt hands, right?
Right.
Okay. But if there's something that goes wrong with our brain, then everything changes. That thing that is Gene is no longer Gene.
Agreed.
And as a man who actually cares for his father with dementia, I'm really invested in that space.
Wow.
I've personally raised over $500,000 for the Queensland Brain Institute.
God bless you, man.
That's just
awesome.
me blowing my own trumpet. But the point I'm trying to make here with sleep and dementia is, imagine for a second you couldn't flush the toilet. Imagine how quickly that would back up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, when we sleep 6 to 8 hours as a minimum, what happens is everything in our body, we eat and we poop, right? Your brain creates a lot of energy. It also creates a lot of waste. It poops, right? And if we're not sleeping 6 to 8 hours, our spinal fluid comes up, circulates, and pulls the poop out across the blood-brain barrier. Okay? And so if you wake up and you're feeling crappy, and that crappy feeling is following you around, and you've got to wash it down with energy drinks or coffee, that's usually because we've still got crap in our head that hasn't been extracted. We've still got waste that the brain's created that can't be extracted. And over time, this is the stuff that creates this problematic neurological state, because we're not flushing the toilet, essentially. And this
I
is
know
why
a lot of people with that problem. I know a lot of people. Yeah, 100%, man.
People don't pay attention to this until it shows up economically. So when I'm working with my corporates, an easy win that I have with them is, if you want to half your employees' sick days, improve their sleep. Sleep poor people take twice as many sick days. And that's massive over an organization, all right? And if you don't just look at, it's not just absenteeism, it's presenteeism. So someone comes to work and they haven't flushed the toilet, they're 30 to 40% less productive.
Yeah.
And again, that's another massive impact. And these are just measurable stats at work. What's not measurable, but you feel it more, is how it impacts on your emotional state. I feel crappy. I'm more likely to overreact or respond in a crappy way to someone else in my circle, my family. This is where, if you're not careful, you're always going to be looking for a solution that gives you comfort, because it's very uncomfortable living with that crappy feeling. And for me, I'd take a lot of alcohol because that gave me comfort. I didn't know why, but I had to drink half a carton of grog before I spoke to my then wife. All right. And that was me unaware of this imbalance that had crept up on me, because I was physically fine. I was still kind of doing everything, but it's not until I actually saw or experienced what a good night's sleep could do for you that I saw the redundancy of all the shit that this world offers to try and give you comfort. Wow.
Yeah, man. There's no doubt about it. I mean, what you're saying is, you know, it's not just, you know, backed by the science piece. If you take just the smallest amount of time and do a little self inventory, it comes through there. Explain to me this work that you do here. Explain to me how this are these your connection to the outdoors and using the outdoors in a lot of the stuff that you do. Is this something different than what you do, or is it all tied together? I'm going to share some slides here, some pictures. One sec here. Are
you showing the veteran recovery programs that I've been running?
Yeah, the stuff that you sent me there.
Yeah,
I want to pull that up here real quick, and then I'm going to share this on our screen here for folks. Because, of course, you sent fishing pictures, dogs. I'm all in when you do that. Share screen. Let's see, where's the Windows tab? Bada bing, right there. All right, and let's pull this up. Actually, I'm going to full screen this. So this is you. Looks like in a harbor somewhere. You guys are heading out. I love got a little squid trailers going up there. What? Explain to me this connection with the outdoors and the work that you do.
Okay, so everyone has this sense that when they get outdoors, things just feel better, right?
Right.
Now, I'm going to talk to you now about something that if you were to access, and it's free to access this, it changes everything. So a lot of people, in fact, I'll give you two takeaways that if you integrate this, life is going to change. People can live their conscious daylight hours with an imbalance, right? But it often shows up at sleep when these imbalances, you can't ignore them consciously, they come out and they disturb your sleep. So there's certain things you can do in your daylight hours that impact your sleep heavily. One of which, so people say, what's a really good sleep tip? One of which is actually what you do first thing in the morning. Now, if you're in a place where you can see the sunrise and see that first frequency of light when it comes over the horizon, and this is without any glass between you and that frequency of light, that actually goes through your eye sockets, hits a part of your brain called the superchiasmatic nucleus, if I said that right. And what that does, what that part of your brain does, is synchronize all your circadian rhythms, all your internal clocks. We've got hundreds of all these internal clocks. And when we see that first frequency of light, it brings them into sync. So, you know, before we stepped up on a mission for Special Forces, we would synchronize our watches to a second to the commanding officer. Because you can imagine if someone was 30 seconds behind, that would make a massive impact on the mission. So if you've ever had the experience of trying to go to sleep and there's a part of you still running around the shop that can't sleep, then there's a part of you out of balance. So the quickest way to bring balance, first light through your eyeballs combined with breath work. Again, that's quite a game changer. Now, the second thing I want to layer with that, because it is a combination thing to the outdoors, is we all know that water comes in three phases. It comes in a liquid, solid, ice, gas, steam. Gene, they've discovered a fourth phase of water.
Really?
Yeah. This will blow your world, because it blew mine, and my life changed, and the way I did things changed after I did this. This fourth phase water, it's a hexagonal shape of molecule, and it stacks up, and it's only created when our skin is exposed to natural light. Our body generates this fourth phase water when our skin is exposed to the light.
What the hell?
Okay, right? And this fourth phase water is like, it turns your body into a superconductor. It allows the exchange of nutrients across cell membranes, and you only need probably 20 minutes of your skin in the light with a bit of breath work to start the day, and you've got this in place. And if you want to level that up, and I always like leveling up, you could have consume some fourth phase rich foods like coconut water. Okay, that's a good one. Chia seeds. If you want to soak some chia seeds in coconut water, that gel around the outside, that's fourth phase water of those chia seeds.
No
and
kidding.
You drink that before you get into a place where you can absorb that light. You've got the structure in place to create this amazing fourth phase water. Cucumbers is another thing that is rich in fourth phase water. So these sorts of things, if you want to, if you're, say, taking a bunch of guys outside, you can prepare their system to be more energetic by giving them, coconut water or chia seeds soaked in coconut water or some cucumbers. And that then gives them this tangible building blocks to create this fourth phase water to turn your body into what I call a superconductor. And so now part of my daily routine is getting into a position where I can see the first light coming over the horizon. That brings my circadian rhythms all into sync, and it feels bloody amazing. Okay, it's Mother Nature's antidepressant because it turns off the melatonin, and it turns on the get up and go. Let's get into the day. Let's get outside the cave and conquer the world. Okay, or do what we need to do. All right, and then conversely, sunset. Sunset is those sequence of colors in reverse. So it turns off the cortisol, turns on the melatonin, gets us ready to go back into the cave, gets us ready to enjoy that meal, rest, digest, connect with our loved ones, be intimate, but it's just that natural sequence of colors in reverse. Combine that with a bit of breath work, and you've got your own pharmacy inside your own body.
Dude, I love it.
This is what the drug companies don't want you to see. They don't want you to see the pharmacy that's available inside your own body.
Right. And so you incorporate this on these trips here that you go out with. Good. I mean, you guys are doing pretty well there. Was this the same trip you were heading out? I assume
those photos are related, and that's not squid jigs. I was almost going to say they're tuna jigs.
Oh, tuna jigs. Well, I thought they looked like baby squid. What I was saying. Yeah, exactly. It looks like a baby squid up there with the trailer and such on the back. And I know that's a hot item for most fish to snack on in the saltwater. Now, this is off the coast there in Australia?
This is off the coast of Australia. There's a few more if you flick forward. Okay, that's me about to go diving. One thing I do with very successfully in the veteran space is free diving programs. So when your face is underwater, a lot of people don't know, and this is another biohack. I know this is a lot of information, but if you can take this on board, it's going to be a game changer for you. Between our eyebrows, we have a starfish-shaped gland that once it's underwater, it triggers our mammalian dive reflex.
Yep.
So we're mammals, and we have the same reactions to going underwater as dolphins and whales. Yep. Our whole system reacts. The external capillaries and veins and arteries constrict, and the blood goes to the core. Our heart rate slows down. But here's the thing that I've found very effective in the veteran space is the guys with a lot of noise in their head, once their face is underwater, especially in cold water, it's like a lobotomy to your brain, because once your mammalian dive reflex is triggered, it sets off a signal saying, hang on, we're in survival mode. We only need the energy systems working that keep us surviving. And at a very deep level, it knows we don't need stress to survive.
Exactly.
So it literally lobotomizes out the stress, all the noise that's always there, and gets you back into this super mindful state. So I ran these freediving programs, and so many of the guys said, for the first time in forever, all the noise stopped, all the voices stopped.
Yeah.
And it's when your mammalian dive reflex is activated, it's the only activity that balances out both your parasympathetic nervous system and your sympathetic nervous system. Your fight or flight, your rest, digest, everything comes into balance. So it's calming, but it's also energizing.
Yeah.
So again, I'm not I only went to things that just worked. And I just saw how rapidly people were brought back into balance through these physical modalities.
You know, in the mammalian dive reflex, one of the things, so my background, I am a former first responder with the Larimer County Dive Rescue Team. And one of the things that we would deal with, and especially here in Colorado with our extremely cold waters that we deal with, is there's something called a cold water near drowning phenomena that takes place. And it's seen most in young kids. Occasionally in middle-ranged adults will take place with this. There's actually been instances of, firefighters that have been underneath the water for 90 minutes, brought out, resuscitated properly, and suffered no ill consequence for it because of that. That's at the center of it. Your body, when shocked, certain people have, go into that state and they can survive, a what was, considered to be a superhuman amount of time. Now there is quite the obviously the methodology in bringing somebody back from that, of how they warm them from the inside out so as to not release, a bunch of toxins. But the point is, I have experience of hearing about the mammalian dive reflex piece that takes place in there. Real quick, I also wanted to say, do you have a crocodile sleeping next to you? Is that a snoring that I'm hearing from
in Australia? We have bears. we actually have bears. Let me show you my bear, my pet bear. I was hoping that microphone wouldn't pick it up.
No, it's okay. It's perfect. Oh my gosh, he's gorgeous. That's the sound. Yep. That's awesome. You were talking and I kept hearing it and I'm like, is there some sort of feedback? What is that that's going on? I was like, that's perfect. I love it.
It's really hot in Australia. He's not normally an inside dog. It's so hot. I've just brought him in the air conditioning.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, he's in that tail's wagging. He's living his best life right now. He's loving it.
He gets 2 full body massages a day.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah. Dogs can't pat themselves, and their fascia really benefits by being stimulated, just like ours, right?
Yeah.
And when you're free diving, your whole fascia is compressed and expanded. It's not like scuba where you sort of go down slowly. So that continual compression and expansion, what we found was all the unexpected, metric that we found was all the pain scales of people's injuries went down dramatically.
Wow.
Because your whole body is being compressed and then expanded. It's dumping out all the waste through your kidneys. I mean, you piss a lot.
Right.
But it also, your fascia is completely supported 360 degrees, and you're not sort of, you're not holding that tension in your skin bag. So we found that's me about to get into some very shark infested waters. That's not where I normally take people. That's my personal getaway.
Gotcha.
I grew up on the west coast of South Australia, and that the movie Jaws, that small country town in Jaws, that was pretty much exactly how I grew up in a small, simple country town. And the sharks were everywhere. I grew up screaming from nightmares of sharks, right? So what I do once or twice a year is I go back there and I swim in these waters, and I find it's the best mental reset for me because my courage fails me, right? And what I know about fear, what I've discovered, in my world of fear, it appears to me that fear happens when we're trying to hang on to something that hasn't happened yet. So when I was in Afghanistan, I made my peace with death, truly, right? Yeah. And then on the very last mission, I was like, I think I'm going to survive this. Oh, wow, I think I am going to survive this. So you know what? I'm really looking forward to seeing the family, going on holidays. And then, Gene, boom, that's when it hit me. This fear overtook my body because I was attached to something that hadn't happened yet. And my body created fear because I was hanging on to it.
Yeah.
And so swimming in these waters, you got to remember these sharks can see through you. They're an apex predator that can X-ray vision your body. So if you're in a fearful state, that's a lot of electricity, and they could mistake you for food. All right. And so there comes a point when I'm swimming in those green waters where my courage fails me. And for me to be in a clean state, I have to give up my desire to ever walk on land again,
Wow.
to ever see another sunset,
Right.
to ever see another human being, loved or not. And when I give all that up, it's like my brain reaches this point of totality that if something does show up, I can be in that clean state. Now, obviously that doesn't make me bulletproof, but it stops me creating something that I would prefer not to happen.
Yeah.
It seems a clean state. It can see me for as I am, not like, oh shit, I'm food, you know? And I can only do that with a physical exposure to that. It's like there's this ancient DNA inside of me that gets unlocked when I'm in that environment and I'm not the top of the food chain, and I have to work in with something bigger than me.
Wow.
I've been doing it for about 30 years, but just last month I took a bunch of men. This is the merch from the trip. I'm not sure you can see that. We called it the Apex Odyssey, and these. Oh, sorry, I'll show you the Apex Odyssey.
Love it.
And these men unlocked their deep ancient DNA because you know we get to choose to go to these environments and whatever, but our ancestors did it every day just because they had to feed the family, and it wasn't a big deal, right? And so that power didn't disappear like water on a hot plate. It's still inside of us. We just need the environment for it to actually come out. And part of what I love doing is seeing how people flourish by creating the right environment. One of those environments is improved quality sleep. You know, what you do when no one's looking. But then the other environment I've noticed people really flourish in is going to these environments where they're not top of the food chain. You know, they have to work in with something else. And all of a sudden to a person, all of those men had been reporting back to me saying, I've had so many breakthroughs in my business. I've had so many breakthroughs in my personal life. You know, I'm making so much more money, you know. And these were guys that didn't have an hour spare in the day, let alone 5 days, but they made the time, and now they're reaping the rewards of tapping into the awesomeness, which is their own bodies.
Love it.
And it gives me the highest joy that I have is seeing people flourish. The conditions of flourishing. You can see I'm really happy there because that was another dive I survived.
Exactly. Talk to me. What are we eating here, and what is growing on the bottom one? What the hell is going on here?
Those strange looking things, they're a type of snail. They're called abalone.
Abalone. Oh no. Okay.
Yeah, so
see, we got something called baloney, but it's way different. You want to know what kind of a nerd I am, Tim? I look at this picture, and clearly, I mean, it looks like you're about to eat something you shouldn't. And you know what the hardest part for me was? I looked over and I saw your white sandwich bread. I'm like, dog, get some whole grain. That's where my stupid head went. And I'm like, let's go back to that bucket of valid. What the hell you're about to eat.
That's valid. Although I was in a shared kitchen, that is not my white bread.
Gotcha. Yeah. That's a great photo there. Love it. You were obviously doing some public speaking here.
So we have Anzac Day in Australia, which is a very important military day for us, where we had our soldiers basically at the behest of the English officers take a beach that was heavily fortified. And in that campaign, we lost 8,000 troops, and we celebrate Anzac Day every year.
Wow.
And I was asked to do a speech on that day at a particular place, and it was the first time since Afghanistan where I actually spoke publicly about a moment where in the middle of an ambush, I felt like the spirit of the World War I Anzacs came through time and spoke to me, like literally spoke to me.
Wow.
And it gave me this peace, power, and perspective that I feel that I survived that, so I could share with people the wisdom and perspective of those World War I veterans.
Yeah.
And that was a photo from that morning.
Well, you clean up well, brother, for sure. Look at that. Look, yeah, you don't look a day over 30.
It's very kind of you, Gene. I'm sure you say that to all the guys.
All my guests, yeah, usually. Okay, yeah, you guys are smashing some big uns here. That looks like a ton of fun. Now, was this a free dive? Is that what you guys were doing
They're all
with this?
free. Yeah, yeah. And
Super cool.
that was a month or two ago. You might call them king mackerel. We call them Spanish mackerel.
Nice.
And I was very lucky to land that fish. It was quite a sharky area. There's no great whites in this particular area, but there's a lot of reef sharks. And when something that big gets hit, it sends these alarm bells off. So literally,
It's called a dinner bell, is what it is.
yeah. A lot of vibrations going through the water with the stressing fish, but for some reason I was able to get it to the boat. But just as I was at the boat, I'm looking at the boat, and then something says, "Look down, Tim." And as I look down, there's this big white set of jaws coming up from the depth to try. I think it was going for the fish, not me, but I just sort of launched myself with just adrenaline into the boat, and I probably took 50 kilos of water in with me. But we ended up, getting it in the boat.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a true story.
Good Lord. You look like you're about to brew up a caramel macchiato here. What do we got go? What are you brewing?
Good call, my man. So this is Afghanistan 2009 on deployment with the Australian Special Forces. We're in Kijaki, part of Afghanistan. And that photo, do you remember how I spoke about energies like money?
Yes, sir.
Well, a week before this, I had this overwhelming feeling that I was going to die. What's the point? You know, my boss was always chewing me out. And I'm just a private, right?
Right.
And it's like, what's the point? I've only got 2 cents worth of energy. I'm going to die anyway. What's the point of even trying? And then this voice came to me about 5 minutes after I was sulking. Tim, if you've only got 2 cents worth of energy, you better invest that wisely.
Wow.
And so, in our private chat this morning, I sent in a little breathwork link, and this is, I didn't know what breathwork was, and we never got anything that you'd call proper sleep in Afghanistan. But instead of just trying to close my eyes and get whatever sleep I could, I focused on my left thumb, and I pretended there was like a pinhole in the top of my left thumb, and I tried to breathe through it like, and I would breathe air and relaxation through my thumb until in my mind's eye, this thing started glowing white. Okay. So instead of just going to sleep, I spent the 2 cents I had breathing into my thumb and then into my finger. And then at some point I'd actually go to sleep, and then I'd wake up and I had like 80 cents worth of energy. Wow. And then the next time I became horizontal, I'm like, okay, I'm going to take it through all my fingers and into my hand and forearm, wake up with $10 worth of energy. Next time I go to sleep, I invest it in my hand, my arm, my body. Wake up with more. And then it got to this point where I'm good, man. I'm waking up and I'm doing extra push-ups, throwing an ammo tin around the place. And it's not like we weren't busy, but then this is where energy has a natural progression. As you fill up in one area, the next area becomes apparent, but not before you're completely full. So what I didn't see while I was inadequate was the dysfunction in my team. I just thought it was normal. But when I became in this abundant energetic state, I could then say, look, if my team's having a bad day, I'm having a bad day. So then I wasn't just breathing for me, I was breathing for them. And then one thing that came to me was, what I do have is a supply of fresh coffee. How about I make coffee for my team members? That's a pretty rudimentary thing, right? But let me just speak to the culture within Special Forces. If you do an act of service that is unasked for to a really alpha male that's not always secure, they see you as below them. Oh, you've done something for me, you're below me. And I knew if I started making coffee for people, I'd be called the brew bitch.
Right.
And I'm like, no way. I've worked too hard to be here. If I get called the brew bitch, someone's getting politely knocked out. But and this is where it gets really weird. I've only heard 2 audible whispers in my life, and one was at this point in Afghanistan, and it could have been a number of things, but what I heard was, take the ego out of it.
Take the ego out of it.
Yeah, right. And so I'm like, who am I to ignore the word of the universe or complete insanity? So I made people coffee. You know, I got called the brew bitch. And what I came to was, it doesn't matter if they like me, hate me, they're stronger.
Right.
And who do I want around me when good times turn bad?
Exactly.
You know, so my survivability goes up when they're stronger. And I tell you that the good thing is, I mean, it's not always fun living so close to people, but when you live so close to people, you can actually see the impacts of your actions much quickly. Because sometimes in the Western world, you don't always see how your actions impact others. But when you're living so close, you do see this, right?
Yeah.
And so I drop this coffee off and they go, oh, thanks, brew bitch. You know, you know, but then you could watch these guys, and before I got there, they're arguing, you know, throwing shit at each other, saying this should be this and that should be that.
Yeah.
And then they take this coffee, and it's really good coffee. They take a second sip really quickly because I made it really well. And then it just stops. Everything just stops. The arguing, the fast movements. And you could see these guys, they just sort of look up at the horizon and take this deep breath. And you'd see these broad shoulders just relaxing and just melting into this moment. And all of a sudden, they're not in the shit zone of Afghanistan. They're back home at a coffee shop.
Right, right.
And before I knew it, I had the whole platoon sitting down over coffee. And that's no small thing. I had senior officers sitting down with junior ranked, you know, NCOs, and they were talking like humans. It wasn't a case of orders and this and that. And, you know, resources got allocated, things got done, things got, you know, put into place. And it's like more got done in a space of good energy than a space of, I'm here, you're there, I've got an agenda. You know what I mean? And
Yep.
and this is where I think I got given that whisper, because I never would have seen the power of servanthood, because I'd got it confused with servitude.
Yep.
You know,
A lot of
being
people
a
do.
servanthood means you can create powerful spaces where flourishing happens, and you just stand back and watch the show. You know,
Right. Right.
And you know, yeah, I was able to wear that brew bitch label and see the impacts of what my active service could do.
That's powerful, man.
Yeah.
That is so cool. Then we got Mates for Mates here.
Yep. So that's a veteran charity. And that's I called it marine therapy, getting people out on the water. And this is a group of guys afterwards. And I'd have them filling in, you know, forms on, you know, how they felt and the quality of their sleep. And then a week later would do the same thing. And their sleep would be improving. So we kept doing it. So this is the freediving program, where right now they're activating their mammalian dive reflex underwater, feeling supported by their mates. And you can see that the neoprene wetsuit they're wearing is supporting their fascia, so they can feel completely supported and relaxed.
Yeah.
Kind of like a float tank. And the good thing about holding your breath when you're freediving is that, especially in the military and especially on land, we have an association that the harder you work, the further you get, the more you achieve.
Right.
Okay. But when you're taking a deep breath and holding your breath, the less you do, the less you care, the less you just don't give a fuck, the longer you go. Okay, because your brain's producing energy, but it's also producing waste, and it's the buildup of CO2 that makes the urge to breathe. Okay, it's not, and that's an important note. So CO2 is waste. So the less energy you make, the less waste you create. So when you shut everything down, that's when this really powerful state sort of kicks in. And so that was just, I just found physical modalities that kept working, kept improving sleep. And if I kept improving sleep, then every metric in their life kept improving.
That is so powerful, man. You know, there's a common denominator across the board in the veteran community out there. And just every now and again, you see these, there'll be a star that shines just a little bit brighter there. And that is what you just spoke about, which is service to others. For me, operating in this space with a nonprofit, it's my motivator, it's my inspiration. I have such great admiration for all of the service members out there. And I try to form that, funnel that forward is, you know, in a way of trying to give back now and make sure that we're of service in some way, fashion, or form that comes out there. But it's inside you. And like I said, you, Brother Tim, are absolutely one of those stars that just shines for some reason in my head just a little bit brighter in some of these cases. You've tapped into some stuff that, quite frankly, if people are open to it, just might find what it is that you found and what you're trying to basically convey to them, that, you know, you are a lot more powerful than what you realize. And not poo-pooing the other stuff that's out there, right? For I'm sure there's a time and place, but in our world now, it's not every time in every place. And that's what they're trying to basically, that's what they've been pushing. The narrative is that this is your only way. That there's a lot you can do for yourself, you know, and I think breath work in bed is that's right at the very heart of this, is that, dude, invest back in yourself. Take a a moment here and go down this, you know, pathway and check this out. What's the worst that happens, right? Nothing. I mean, there's no downside to this. That's the thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, what? So you don't change anything. Okay. So if you're wanting to, you know, look and balance things out, the worst thing that happens is that everything stays the same as where you are right now. But clearly, why would a guy come before you and sit in front of you and tell you that he has supreme confidence that if you come in open-minded and you take a look at this and you follow the instructions, you're going to see results, man. It's going to come back to you. Yeah, it's a no-brainer piece, man. I love it.
And look, the joy I have here isn't just the sleep. Okay, sleep is the soil from which everything grows. And in the world we currently live in, if someone's trunk is not in the right shape, if we don't have the fruit in our lives that we want, there's plenty of people out there that'll go, I'll sell you a product to get you a better trunk. I'll sell you a product that you can get better fruit with, right? But someone who understands how the tree grows goes into the soil and nourishes that.
I love it.
You know? And so this is what your sleep does for you. It's unspectacular. No one sees it, but it shows up powerfully everywhere. And like I said, the joy isn't the sleep improvement, isn't making the soil better. The joy is knowing that inside each and every one of us, we've got seeds of uniqueness, seeds of greatness that are just laying dormant, waiting for the right conditions within the soil to flourish, because we're built to flourish, but they only grow when the soil energy is at the right level. So, Gene, I'm very excited for you personally. Okay. All those seeds that have just been in there, you know, waiting for the right conditions, because, you know, you're a strong guy. You can function on, you know, what you have, and our bodies can function. So the exciting thing isn't so much the sleep, it's the flourishing of things that happen when our energy level rises, when we've cleaned the crap out of our system and we've got a natural source of energy, and those seeds of uniqueness, seeds of greatness do what they're supposed to do, and that's flourish.
Yeah. I'm excited, man. I can't wait. Tonight we will. I'm going to give this a whirl here for sure, and we'll definitely start our journey with this. So I'm sure I'll be texting you along the way there, trying to touch.
Well, how's this sound, Gene? Let's keep ourselves accountable.
Yeah.
How about we do this again in 6 weeks?
All right.
And you commit to doing your breath work, going to sleep, breath work, waking up, and we will check in, my man.
I love it. I love it. Let's do it. Yeah, we'll set this bad boy up. I'm going to make sure that
Because
this
we're just
airs.
talking right now, blah blah blah, and
Yeah,
if
right.
people can look behind your eyeballs. I mean, hopefully, there's a certain amount of authenticity that I'm, sharing from seen experience. But when someone who hasn't been exposed to this, who has been sleeping poorly for since 2013, that's 12 years.
Yep.
When you actually get a tactile lived experience with this, then if people can genuinely see that shift, even if they don't like or don't believe, they'll see something that they might go, you know what, that might be the thing for me.
And anybody that knows me knows that I'm straightforward with folks. I've been in an industry, in the fishing industry, where there's times where I'll be straightforward and tell you, am I marketing something or am I shooting you straight on something, I've gone down those paths before, so this will be one of those things that people know straightforward. I'll shoot you straight on what it is that I see, I find, and that my experience through it. I don't claim I'm not the brightest bulb in the Christmas box. I know that, but at the end of the day, I also know that I'm solid in my assessment when it comes to trying to be open-minded about things. So no question there. Well, listen, man, I can't thank you enough here. It's we've been rolling about an hour and a half. That's an awesome show. I'm going to actually put this in the rotation, so this will air before New Year's. I'll make sure of that.
That'd be a good thing we can gift your audience.
Yeah.
Because if you think of everything you want to do in 2026, imagine if you're sleep deprived 20%.
Exactly.
Or 50% or 60%. Then conversely, improving your sleep 20%. It's you getting towards your state of flourishing. This is what the sleep does. Conversely, it makes everything wilt when you aren't. So everyone looks at conscious waking hours and taps into that, and there's a time and a place. But if you can be the person that taps into the unconscious, nighttime hours, and you can be the phone that's on the charge point, as opposed to all the other people that don't know how to fully regenerate and charge themselves, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Now, Gene, we did speak about giving people tangible tools. I love giving people tangible tools.
Yeah.
Now, being that this isn't live, I did a small run this morning and I drank a lot of fluids. Is it possible to press pause and I can have a break and then come back and we do a little breath work exercise?
Absolutely, 100%. You go ahead there, and then when you come back on camera, I'll bring you right back in.
No worries.
All right, folks, he will be right back with us here while he's going and doing that. Wanted to get a chance also just to let you know, make sure and smash that subscribe button for us. As you know, the True Patriot Outfitters has stepped away from most of our social media stuff. Just it's not for the space for us right now. I still post stuff on my personal Facebook page, this and that, but we're not wasting the time in many of those others. But YouTube is still a good place for us with the podcast. It's where we choose to keep our podcast rolling there, and of course all the podcasting platforms. So a subscribe, a like, comment on the videos there. We appreciate that. That goes a long way for helping us reach more and more people. I told you you're going to love this dude. Tim is a man among men. Interesting information that he has, and I can't wait to give it a try. I've downloaded it. It's on my phone now, so we're going to give it a whirl and see what we can come up with through there. Let's see. Yeah, go ahead and like I said, make sure to smash that subscribe and the like and such. We're going to do a real quick give you something tangible with this show here. He's going to go through and kind of give us an example of what some of this work looks like. So the fact that you've stayed with us through the entire show here, looks like he's back. So let's bring him back in. And so, yeah, we when we're done with this, we'll wrap the show up here, and be sure to check with us on Sunday nights. That's when we go live in most cases, or we'll have recorded episodes. This is going to be airing on a special night, special episode for sure. So, all right, brother. Yeah. So let's do it. What do you got here?
So we've spoken about it. It's just talk. So right now we're going to get an embodied experience. I'm going to give you my favorite breathwork sample. I'm going to show you how to completely relax your body within 3 breaths.
Okay.
And this is great for when you're kicking around the place. You want to get yourself back in regulations, especially if you're busy. Instead of reaching for that beer, you can reach for your breath. It's cheaper and more natural. Now, because we've been breathing our whole lives. It's our oldest habit, and we have a certain association with it, and we're about to feel a new way of breathing, which can often have certain feelings attached to it. Okay. I'm just going to, Bubba. He's, when dogs just start slobbering. Okay. So what I need to do, and it's distracting me, I'm trying to focus. What I need to do is ask 3 permission questions of yourself and your listeners. And ideally, the first time you do this, you do it in a safe place. So don't do this while you're driving, in the bathtub, just, ideally seated, supported. And the 3 permission questions to allow you to get the most from this, because you're going to have a lot of good energy going through your system, and we'll experience it to the level we give it permission.
Okay.
So the invitation, Gene, is, Gene, do you give your own breath permission to nourish every single cell in your physical body?
Yes, I do.
Fantastic. That was easy. Gene, do you give your own breath permission to nourish every part of your conscious thinking mind?
Yes, I do.
Fantastic. 2 down. Last one. Gene, do you give, and your listeners, hopefully you draw this question close to yourself, do you give permission for your own natural breath to nourish every part of your unconscious mind?
Yes, I do.
Fantastic. Now, this is going to be really easy. I'll talk you through it. Simply start with an exhale and then breathe in. So start with an exhale and then breathe in. Okay. Now, that was a conscious breath. You're aware of your exhale. You're aware of your inhale. Mental health to me isn't a mental problem. It's a physical disconnect problem. Because when we get so focused on something out there, we disconnect from our breath and people start going, okay? So when you consciously breathe, you bring yourself back to your place of power. Okay? Could life be so simple that conscious breathing could be something that actually helps us get through everything? Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is show you how to juice up that conscious breath. And I'm going to show you some amazing things that your body does. You probably never knew it does. And this gives me a lot of joy to make that connection. Okay. So this time we're going to exhale, but as we breathe in, we're going to breathe in more. Okay. So let's start with the exhale. Exhale. And then breathe in. Breathe in more, breathe in more, breathe in more, breathe in more. Now just hold it and wriggle your shoulders. Wriggle, 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 wriggle. Open up that chest. And if it feels good, I invite you to let out with a little sigh. Nice. Let that energy go through your system. That's your energy. And it'll nourish you and restore you to the level we give it permission. Okay. Now, you notice that when you breathe in more, it's like little bits of extra space opened up in the top third of your lungs. For the sake of giving it a name, we're going to call that your secondary inhale. So your primary inhale, most people breathe in and out of their chest, but your secondary inhale, you access your top third. Okay. Now, here's the cool thing. In your 2 fingers and thumb, you have a button that's going to boost your secondary inhale. So when we pinch our fingers together like that, we're going to boost our secondary inhale. Okay. So what we're going to do is start with the exhale, and halfway through our inhale, we're going to pinch our fingers together and look up and really boost that secondary inhale. Cool?
Okay.
All right. So starting with your exhale, blow it out, shake it out, blow it out, shake it out, out. And then with your mouth closed, breathing in, hit those power buttons, look to the ceiling, hit the power buttons, look up, open. Now hold it and wriggle. Wriggle your arms, wriggle your shoulders, wriggle your spine, wriggle. And then if it feels good, let it out with a sigh. Make a bit of noise. That's good. All right, just let that energy in. It's the most natural thing, your energy. And teeth start showing. People start, this is happiness,
Right.
And tension starts being loosened off too. People start stretching and all that sort of stuff. So I'm going to juice up. So did you notice that when you hit those power buttons, you sort of got an extra boost in your secondary inhale?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
so just imagine for a second walking down the street and something might bother you. Okay. Pinch those fingers together and reclaim your power. Okay. Because I don't just call that the secondary inhale. I call that the breath of possibility. When something feels impossible to me, I'm going to make it possible by holding it in there, getting myself back into my power point, which is this. Okay.
All right.
So breath of possibility through these pinch points. So this is, I treat it like a self-medication button, a bit like, when you're in a hospital and you can call a nurse or you hit a morphine button. Well, this is our natural organic. If you can integrate this, you're going to have access to power that most people don't. Okay. Free, natural, and completely reusable. Now, you can see my nose. Okay. I got a deviated septum, but that's okay. Behind our noses, we have sinuses. Okay. And when I was a professional fighter, my coach used to say, Tim, before you do a combination, oxygenate your brain by doing a really rapid inhale. Okay. And that, according to him, sucked air over the sinuses straight into the brain. I don't know if that was based in science or not, but it worked in combat. And I'm going to get you an experience of rapid oxygenation over your sinuses. So we're going to do exactly what we did before, but we're going to double the speed of the inhale. Okay. So we're going to exhale. We're going to have our power buttons ready. And I'll just give you a little demonstration. And then once we're all the way out, and we go and really try and suck it through like we're trying to suck it through the back of our heads. Okay. All right.
All right.
So I invite you to blow it out, shake it out, blow it out, shake it out, blow it out, shake it out, shake it out, shake it out, out. You'll be surprised how much you can blow out. And then when you're ready, hit those power buttons, breathe in rapidly, look up, open. Now hold it and wriggle. Let your chest open up like a flower. Open it up. Feel that flower opening, the sun coming in, and then let it out with some noise. I want to hear some noise. Laughing's good.
Yeah.
And just let that energy go through your system. It could be a sensation you've not felt before. This could be the first time you've taken a proper breath. And your body is like, yes, we like this.
There is definitely a presence of energy going on of some kind there. Yeah.
Well,
I can feel it through the chest, through my arms. I can feel it. Yeah. There is absolutely something going on. No question.
It's more than just more oxygen. Okay. So our brain creates electricity and our muscles respond to that electricity. But the cables that go from our brain are like soft, squishy garden hoses.
Okay.
So if you step on your garden hose, there's less water going through.
Yep.
So it is with our electrical currents. When we compress those cables, we have less energy in our arms and legs. And proper breathing gives you proper structure. Proper structure allows those electrical cables to flow properly through you. Here's a fun fact. When I worked with the British Special Forces, they determined that every degree your structure was out of alignment, you lost between 8 and 12% strength.
Wow.
Okay, so if you could carry 100 kilos and you're 1 degree out, you could only carry 88 to 92 kilos. But imagine this. Imagine one little power breath makes you instantly stronger. Not because you're stronger, but you're just allowing your full energy to be fully connected through your body. See how that works?
Yeah, yeah.
And this is how psychology kicks in, because when there's shit in my head that I don't want, weight of the world on my shoulders, I start hunching over. What am I doing? I'm self-fulfilling a prophecy, essentially. I'm pinching off my energy. I'm creating a lower energy state. Less things become possible, and I'm creating that reality. But if I can show what's possible and take that breath, reel it around, connect back in, have that structure, have that alignment, all of a sudden, more energy, more options.
Yeah, absolutely. That's powerful stuff, dude. Thank you so very much, man. Yeah, I'm excited about this journey. This is going to be good. I am absolutely on board here because, yeah, just doing that little bit, there is no doubt that there is something going on there for sure. And
the nose provides something called nitric oxide. You don't get it through mouth breathing. So breathing through your mouth has a lot of comorbidities for dying early. Okay, but nasal breathing produces nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is a key indicator to improve brain function, heart function. It's a vasodilator. It improves sexual health. And it's an immune response enhancer as well as a performance and recovery enhancer. So if you went to the chemist and says, hey, I want something that does all those things, you're probably paying hundreds of dollars per week.
Yeah.
But nasal breathing gives you that nitric oxide. You don't get it through your mouth. So
Right.
and humming improves nitric oxide uptake by like 2,000%.
Humming.
So I want to show you something right now. So as in we're just gonna finish this little technique, and I invite you to do this 3 times so you can actually get the dose of it.
Okay.
And again, people at home, do this in a safe environment. So we're going to do exactly what we did. We're going to snort it up, hold it and wriggle it, but then we're going to let ourselves relax, push the air down low, and then with our mouth closed, we're just going to hum through our nose for as long as possible, because humming through your nose will increase that nitric oxide uptake, and pushing that air down low will push it from our top third to our bottom third, and the bottom third of our lungs down low is where you have the best gas exchange.
Okay.
Okay, so exactly what we did before, but we're just going to collapse forward, push the air down low, and then hum for as long as possible.
Gotcha.
And I invite you to do this 3 times. Each time it'll take you deeper. Okay.
Okay.
I'll be with you the whole time. So start with your exhale, blow it out, shake it out, blow it out, shake it out, 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 out. Feel your power buttons, get them ready, and when you're ready, snort it in, look up. Open, 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 open. Good. Now just relax everything and wriggle it down low. Wriggle it down low. Put your hands on your belly, feel it down low, push it down low, and then with a bit of pressure, let it out with a through the nose. As long as you can, as long as you can, as long as you can. Out, 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 out. And let that go through your system because you've created a frequency.
All right.
And then when you're ready, we're going to do that 2 more times. Start with your exhale, blow it out, shake it out. And then hit those power buttons, look up, breathe in longer, more, 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 more. Awesome. Now just hold it and relax everything. Just wriggle, 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 head forward, collapse, hands on your stomach, down low, and let it out with a super long hum through the nose. And again, it'll be a deeper experience. Every single breath takes you into another place. It's a beautiful place. Just receive it. Okay. And this last one, we're just going to exhale more, and we're going to breathe in more than we ever have. Okay. So have your power buttons ready. Exhale, exhale, exhale. Really try and get that last cup of air out, 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 out. And once it's all the way out, hit your power buttons and look up. Open, 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 longer than you ever have, more than you ever have. Open that chest more than you ever have. Now wriggle your shoulders, wriggle, 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 collapse forward, collapse forward, collapse forward, hands on your belly, and just hum for as long as possible through your nose. And just let that chair hold you for a second, Gene. The chair was built to hold you. Let the muscles touching the chair relax. Let that energy go through your system. It's your energy, my man.
Yeah, man, there is absolutely something physiological that is.
Don't rush. This is integrating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is absolutely, yeah, that is something very, very powerful here. Not something that I want to do while trying to run a podcast either. I need to do this outside of all this because I've got a lot going on here. Dude, I am excited. That's powerful, and thank you for sharing that. Here on this recording for folks to take a look at. Now I'm going to actually find out which one of my followers, of my people that watch the show, how many stay all the way to the very end. Because if I don't hear somebody talking about me humming through my nose, I'll know they're full of shit and they're not watching my show. I just gave some folks, some great fodder here. It's up to them. I'll find out who those, who the real folks are. No, that is absolutely, yeah. There is no doubt that you can feel, you feel something taking place there, and as you said, that's the energy itself that is.
Well, Gene, consider that
through.
This was the first full breath you've taken, the first proper breath you've taken in a long, long time.
Probably in a long ass time. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So just acknowledge yourself for doing that, mate. That's, if you can access that every day for the rest of your life, which you can now, which anyone listening to this can, there is a very different predictable future for you who's breathing properly than the one that's not breathing properly. A very different 2026 for the one that's breathing properly, aligned, got that power, got that presence, got that reconnection point, than the one that doesn't.
That is powerful, man. That is so cool. Thank you so much for sharing that, man. I
pleasure.
Sincerely appreciate it. Well, listen, brother, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up here. We've got about an hour before we go live for our normal show that goes off on Sunday night. So I've got to run downstairs, get something to eat real quick, and then get ready for the Christmas special. Are you going to come back and join us on the Christmas special, or do you have stuff you got to get back? Yeah, absolutely, dude. Would love to have you in there. I can't guarantee you that it will be anything but the namesake of our podcast, because we're going to have probably guests coming in from all over the place. I'm going to throw out invites and we'll see who we can get to come in, and all kinds of Christmas shenanigans. I'm
happy to be a fly on the wall.
That would be fantastic. Oh no, we'll definitely, because I know there's some guys that we'll have some more app downloads before the night is through. I promise you that. I can see that coming for sure. Awesome, dude. Well, thank you so much, Tim. Hang tight for me here real quick after I wrap up the recording. I'll chat with you, and then we'll come back around. Awesome. All right, folks, that's going to do it for another episode of the Double S. You need to go check out this guy's stuff. I'm telling you that right now. Go check out Breathwork in Bed. Let me see. We're going to do one more time here. I want to put this stuff up here so you can take a look. So here is the website itself is breathworkinbed.com.au. Go to Facebook and Instagram. Check them out at Breathwork in Bed. That's the @ and download the app. Play Store or at the iTunes Store there at just type in Breathwork in Bed and you'll find the app, download it there, and you can walk through this. It's some powerful stuff, dude. Just that little bit of stuff we just did. I don't know how to put my brain around it just yet, but I can tell you something absolutely very energizing, very rejuvenating just took place in what we just did together. So I encourage you to check this out, man. There's a lot of power in what's going on out there. All right, folks, that's going to do it. As always, stick with us on Sunday nights on the HMG. Make sure out at YouTube at True Patriot Outfitters or at Heroes Media Group. Smash that subscribe button. It's a huge, huge help for us. Tight lines, folks. Be safe. Take care of each other, and God bless.